Hello, everybody, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. Our guest today is State Representative Tandy Darby. He'll be going back to the legislature this Tuesday. How's your family, sir?
Paul, it's always great to see the kids, and they understand how pressing it is sometimes, and it is. We keep I-40, we keep it hot, but just like I told my wife, I said, hey, we'll make the sacrifices, whatever we got to do right now. Because in a year or two, we'll be scratching our head saying what we would give for just one more game. And so, it's special to all of us, and it is. It's a little bit hard on everything, but hard on equipment, hard on the pocketbook, and hard on time. But it's definitely worth it.
Tess and Edie Darby are both on the University of Tennessee Knoxville Lady Vols basketball program and have been.
Yes, sir, Paul. Tess is a fifth-year senior. And she got an extra year because of COVID, because she was a graduate in 2020. So all the graduates in 2020 out of high school received an extra year because of the shortcomings of COVID.
So what is she majoring in or getting a second degree? What are we on?
She is. She's in her master's classes right now in finance. So that'll be something there that she's got to go through. And we talked about it this weekend. Matter of fact, she said, Dad, I've got to go to finish up my master's. I got to go through Christmas next year. She said, do you think anything would happen if I kind of asked Coach Kim maybe for a GA spot? I said, Tess, hey, whatever you wanted to do. And I really think, Paul, and I didn't tell her, but she's going to miss it. It's been a part of our lives ever since they were in the third grade. And just the competition part before that. So, it's a big part of our lives, and we've been blessed because of it. And the good Lord has blessed us in so many ways, but basketball has been very good to us.
And Edie is now a junior?
She's a junior, okay. Yes, sir. And she's majoring in pre-med. She's kind of got what she wants to do, and it's kind of got everything, a playbook there of, when she's wanting to do it and how she's wanting to do it. And so I was really impressed with her. She hadn't gotten a lot of minutes on the floor, but she's got a timeline of what she wants to do things, and maybe she could have got a red shirt, but and I'm not saying that she did or she didn't, I don't really know, but she could have pursued it a little bit, but she knows what she wants to do, and she wants to play.
And you still have one more at home.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just like you seen her the other night there when you were calling the games at Greenfield.
Sloan is how old?
Sloan is 8. Mm-hmm. Going on about her third year in law school.
Yeah.
So she's got a vocabulary out of this world. And what impressed me with her, hey, she's got a little bit of street cred. She's the fastest in first grade. And the other night, we practice, and she's doing the little stingers there that Greenfield does. The coaches put on for the younger kids. And I said, Sloan, I said, hey, no turnovers here at halftime now. And she kind of looked and smiled. And, Paul, I tell you, she's when she came back up there, she knows that she messed up one or two times. Well, I seen a tear. And I said, hey, Sloan, everything's going to be all right. Hey, it happens. Yeah. She said, Dad, but I had 2 turnovers. So she recognizes that she made a mistake. And when Dad don't have to say that, she recognizes it. Hey, she wants to do a good job.
And, of course, your wife is doing double duty.
Is. She's putting up with all of us knuckleheads and going in 1,000 different directions. And matter of fact, I went into work this morning, and, Paul, I apologize about being a little bit late, but this snow that's coming in this morning, they're talking about that it's really going to create some havoc between Little Rock and Memphis. And as most of you know, a lot of our trucks are loading in Mexico and coming up. And so we're trying to get everything in there in place, and it took just a little bit longer here this morning.
Let me get you to what is happening this week in front of us, and that is the legislature restarts, and it'll happen Tuesday at noon. Is that right?
Correct.
And then Cameron Sexton, who will gavel the group of members of the House of Representatives, same as on the Senate side, except different leadership. So what's the number one bill that you are having to face right now?
Just like what everybody knows.
Vouchers.
The vouchers. Yes, sir. It's front and center. And matter of fact, my last phone call last night was about 9:00, and I was talking with a lobbyist out of Nashville, and they were telling me it's kind of where the thing was at. And
where is the thing at?
Well, nobody really knows. That's the thing. It's according to who you talk to.
It's HB 1. HB 1.
Yes, sir. HBO 1. And it's one of those deals that if you talk to somebody for it, well, they give you the odds that it's going to pass. If you talk to somebody against it, well, it's pretty close. So don't know how out, but we'll soon find out.
You're against that?
Oh, yes, sir.
And why?
Paul, just look around, go out the front door and look in any direction. These small schools, they struggle as it is, and they're the identity of every town in this county. And when you start not comparing apples to apples, and when you start wanting to give tax money to kids that are already enrolled in a private school, those parents, that's perfectly fine. Whether you homeschool, whether they go to a Christian school, whether they go to a private school. If you've got the means to do that, and that's the direction that you want your kids to go, by all means, do what you think is right for your kids. But to chase tax money for folks that have already made that decision, hey, we're gonna do what we got to do to send our kids to a tuition school or to homeschool, that is fine. But I don't think that tax money should follow that. And that's what I ran on 5 years ago. And it may end up, I may be a bad politician, but I've got to come back and look at my folks in the eye and tell them what I did. And I'm not going to stray from what I told them that I was going to stand up for.
How does the state of Tennessee and Donald Trump get along? What do you say about the president of the United States to be?
He said some pretty rough things about our governor. And it kind of surprised me, but I don't know where they got cross at. Harshbarger from East Tennessee, they elected Harshbarger's. Oh, you might have to help me here. Somebody that's kin to Congressman Harshbarger, and that wasn't Bill Lee's pick. Trump endorsed Harshbarger's family member for a Senate seat on the state side. And I think that's kind of where they got a little bit cross. And with Trump, Paul, I'm just like everybody else. His policies are A1, but we know most of us didn't grow up in New York City. He's brash, says things on the cuff, and, grew up in a little bit different era or surroundings probably than most of us. So, the language, the way that he says things, it's probably not the way that we say them in the South, but his policies on righting the ship. And there's no doubt in my mind that he puts America first.
You voted for him?
Yes, sir.
And what do you expect him to do for Tennessee? I mean, to me, the first thing that comes is taking care of those people in East Tennessee right now. And
no doubt about it. Those people over there, the devastation. I've talked to mayors over there. I've talked to other members there in the House that reside over there. And you can't in pictures, and you can't just talking to people know what kind of devastation that those people went through. You're talking about a big tract of land over there that's hills and valleys, and there's only one way for water to go, and that's to the low spot. And when you get the amount of water that they got,
plus the tornadoes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's and it's already remote as it is. Most places are one way in, one way out, and when you lose that one way in, it's going to be years in the making before they're back to normal.
There's a lot of money that's going to be spent and has been spent already just now trying to get things going. And here we are in cold weather trying to get those folks taken care of. And I go back to this same thing. What is the purpose of government? What do you see in this world that federal government, or whether it be state government or local government?
Paul, just like I said 5 years ago, it's too far reaching. We ought to be there to support. The infrastructure is our responsibility, and that's go back to education and the vouchers. Everybody kind of wants to sidestep that landmine of education. That's where our responsibility is. That's where we're always going to have public schools, always going to have public schools. And when you start picking and choosing who gets I'd hate to say the word better education, but choose to go a different route than public education, then we're picking and choosing the winners and who takes the voucher money and who doesn't. And when the private schools, it's not a parent's choice. The private school gets to choose which kids they take in regardless of money voucher money or no voucher money. And, you know, if you're a 6'9" kid that's able to windmill or double pump a dunk there, more than likely you're going to get in. But if you're just a run-of-the-mill average student, chances of you getting in are not as good as the kid that may have a chance to make a 36 on the ACT or, like I said, run a 4.40. So it's not parental choice. It comes down to private school choice, whether or not they accept you or not.
State Representative Tandy Darby is with us today, and we're talking about the legislature and some of the things that he's got on his radar. I'm going to go back first to one thing. 10 Commandments is coming back up again.
Yes, sir. House Member Hale, a great guy. And that's one of the first things that I'm going to do when I get there is sign on to the bill. We hadn't been in Nashville, so I haven't been up there. But he does a great job representing his constituents. And at the top of he's as good a fellow up there as there is.
The bill says that the documents should be displayed in a prominent location to educate students on the historical significance and common cultural heritage the documents represent for students, schools, state, and country. And that's Representative Michael Hale that you're talking about from Smithville.
Yes, sir. And like I said, and it's going to be challenged, just like Louisiana, just like the other states have been challenged. So, but I've got confidence in R.A.G. Scarametti that he knows the ins and outs of it, and I think we can get this across the finish line.
What is it right now that it is so important for the legislature to pick up the 10 Commandments? Why? How do you feel about let's get this bill done?
You know,
we got In God We Trust on all the schools that come in. If you enter, for example, Westview High School, it's big, stated up there. Bradford, another one. Every one of the schools has it.
I hope they do. I'm sure in our area, most of them do, but I doubt that's the case in a lot of urban schools. And I do believe, as sincerely as I know how, that God needs to be in the backbone of everything that we do. When you see what has happened in a lot of these schools across the country, and Paul, it's one of those things that when you take God out of the schools, I don't think it's a vitamins for the schools. And I think that's you see a lot of things that's happened. We've kind of put religion on the back burner. I'm as guilty as anybody. Time just gets away from us. And me and my daughter last night, we read one of our cousins got her a book. And that was the first week. Like I said, we're a week behind already. And, but every week, we read verses, and she wrote some stuff down, some small things there that she don't get a chance to pray for or would kind of reluctant to ask God to help with. And one of the first things that she said was, Dad, I've never asked for our pet. And I said, well, Sloan, that's one thing that you'd probably be reluctant to ask. And she wrote that down. It's the small things there that matter.
Do you think putting the 10 Commandments up will make a difference to a child?
I do. I personally, folks that they may ask questions. They may not hear it at their house. And for them to walk into school and be able to ask a teacher, maybe the first time that they've ever seen it. And, hey, Miss Jones, what does this mean? Well, that opens a door for a kid to be able to learn the ins and outs of what the Great Commission is. And, it's a chance there to open a door and maybe to break a ceiling that a kid might not first chance to ever hear about the Word of God.
I'm going to shift to roads here in Tennessee. Can you tell me when the roads are going to be fixed around here? Representative Darby, it's your job to take that. You're supposed to carry that water to the guys who have the equipment.
And I've got every guy that I know with TDOT on speed dial, and it's a phone call about
what's the problem? Why can't we get the?
I really think this, and this is not a sales pitch. I really think that. Well, let me set the groundwork here. Tennessee is a pay-as-you-go state when it comes to roads. We owe no money on roads, and I know everybody's saying you can tell. But I think once this private partnership comes into play, where we have to pay for a road, and it's astronomical what roads cost.
What is it, $7 million a mile? Is it $10 million? Do you know the number?
Paul, I think it's closer to 10.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I know it's over 10 per mile. So before legislation last year, when we passed the Transportation Act, it was all on the state to have to fund that all up front. There wasn't any baggage to that. All the money was paid up front. But now that we've sidestepped that and we've created a partnership with private and the state, where the privateers have to have to pay up on some of this road. So this extra money there is definitely could come back to the rural areas to help out. So it's going to spread the wealth there a little bit there. It's going to spread the money out where we might, if they're not funding where before they were funding 3 roads in Middle or East Tennessee, now they're still funding those 3 roads, but they only might have to come up with 1/10 of the money for those 3 roads. So that leaves lots of money there to spread around and get these roads back up to par.
Well, the people want to have a road that they are accustomed to, but now it's worn out, and we got some holes, which has been patched. And I had a conversation with former Representative Philip Pinion, and he says it's a sand problem. It's the land problem. I mean, we have issues that are, well, frankly, they do the best they can with what they got to work with. But if the soil is moving and causing problems, I mean, that's why some of the roads break up.
Paul, you couldn't have said it any better. And I had a meeting with Butch Ely a couple of months ago. He took my meeting, and that's what we talked about was West Tennessee roads. And Butch has done a lot for me. Matter of fact, I had a meeting in Jackson with JR passing away there with the health care in West Tennessee. They had a new leader down there, so I wanted to meet her. We had a meeting, and I was supposed to be at Butch Ely had a groundbreaking right there south of Atwood there, the bypass that was going around. And I called and told him I couldn't make it. Well, I was sitting in the meeting in Jackson, and I got to thinking, as much as Butch Ely, and he's the commissioner of TDOT, as much as he's done for me, I need to be there for him when he's asked me. So I showed up there, and he said, Andy, I didn't think you was coming. I said, and that's exactly what I told him. I said, Butch, as much as you've done for me, Commissioner, I said, I should have been here before. And I told him the scenario of why I had to go to Jackson. He understood completely, but I thought that he was pretty proud to see me there at his event there in Atwood. I'm
going to slide off to agriculture here for a couple of moments. We have a new assistant agriculture commissioner, former state representative Andy Holt, and you have a close relationship, obviously, with him one way or another. How does that help Weakley County, Henry County, West Tennessee?
Hey, you know, I know that he's going to lay claim to West Tennessee, but he is an East Tennessee boy. But I think that is something good there, because that puts him knowing folks in East Tennessee and West Tennessee. And, you know, he's done a lot here for West Tennessee, and to have somebody local that is going to be, you know, the position that he holds, it don't get any better than that. And that's why I urge people, you know, lots of things open up in the state. I urge people, hey, if you're interested about it and think that you can do something good, run for that position. And we may not agree on everything, but we know what's the backbone of West Tennessee. And he's got a good angle on it. And for have somebody like him that's sitting in that position, that's great for our area.
What legislation are you focused on right now besides the vouchers and maybe roads and a couple of other things?
Well, last night I was doing my homework and I was reading the Tennessean, and I told my wife, I said, wow, a bill that I'm carrying, I've had to, this will be an amendment to the state constitution, where me and Farm Bureau have partnered up, and we're running a bill. We've got it through the last 2 years. This will be the third year, and this to take the state property tax out of the state constitution, because the year that sales tax was implemented in Tennessee, they stopped taking in state property tax. Now, that's not going to do anything to the local level property tax and the county level property tax, but the state has the authority, as of right now, to charge property tax, and they don't. But this is a way we get this out of the Constitution. It's a way that Tennessee keeps its belt held tight, and we don't fall back on a shortcoming and say, hey, let's start tapping into the state property tax where we can charge state property tax.
Now, the majority of our listeners, I suspect, are saying, what is he really saying? Can you composite that down just a little bit deeper?
I sure can. Right now, the state has the ability to charge a state property tax. So where right now you just pay a city and a county property tax, the state has the authority. They haven't used it since they implemented the sales tax. They've had the ability to charge a state property tax. My bill takes that ability completely out of the talk, where they don't, in the future, they can't relate back to that and charge a property tax, a state property tax.
Why are we waiting on getting it for two? You've run it twice, you said.
Yes, sir.
How come it hadn't passed?
It has passed, but because it's got to be a a constitutional amendment, it's got to run the gauntlet for 3 years. Or three settings.
So does that mean 3 state representatives, state Senate, or we're talking about us voting?
Yes.
Making sure.
Yep.
In the next piece of all of this, there is something else that you want to talk about. You've got something that you're wanting to make sure gets done, or maybe seeing other things. Teachers, we've already seen how that has inflated a lot of budgets on education. I know you're very strong on education and teachers, and there's education issues, and then there are some other issues I'm sure that you've got, maybe dealing with health and so forth.
The one thing, I think I know what you're trying to ask me. If I had that magic wand, Paul.
If you had that magic wand.
If I had that magic wand and my vote meant more than the other 99 members, which it don't, but if I had that magic wand to change anything, just like right before we got started, I had a phone call here on unemployment. The guy called me. Wanting to get a hold of the unemployment. My office can pick up the phone, dial a number, and we get to talk to somebody. Everybody that pays taxes in Tennessee should have the same right, the same ability as what we do. But when they have to go through their state representative to reach a Tennessee tax-funded agency, everybody ought to have the same ability. And that's not the case. And I'm not throwing darts at agencies in the state of Tennessee, because everybody's under the same, going through a drive-through. How long does it take now, or how long did it take a year ago compared to 4 years ago? Everybody's in a bind for workers. So is the state of Tennessee. And, that's one of the things that I wish I could change. I wish everybody had the ability to pick up the phone and get their questions answered in a timely manner.
What is Governor Lee, besides having the voucher bill as the one that he wants to get done this year, what is he talking to you about that he needs your help on?
That's the only, I got a call from him probably about, is right after Thanksgiving. He's wanting to know where I stood again. And I told him, I said, Governor, I respect you as my governor and Christian. I think you're a stand-up guy. But I said, you've known here for 4 or 5 years that this is where I'm at. Nothing is going to change the way that I feel about it. And, hey, we said our pleasantries, and he went on, and I'm sure that I was just a long list of folks that they were calling.
Are there candidates out there right now? By the way, are you planning to run for governor?
Paul, I think you know what you're dealing with here. You got to show me the where to go to the bathroom here, the exit signs and all that. Hey.
All right, so we've ruled out one elected. So who's out there, and who do you see, or who do you think might be a candidate? Because you're going to have to work with those people if you keep running for this office.
Yes, sir. And I think we got some good candidates right now, and the ones that I've heard, just like you said, the speaker has. I've not heard him say it, but I've heard a lot of people around him say it.
That he's potentially a candidate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And when it comes to policy, the speaker, he walks a different plane. I've had so many meetings with him, folks in this area that I've got meetings for. He comes from a different direction for a remedy. And the way that he understands how everything works, he's a great guy. And as far as, I don't know what his plans are. And matter of fact, I just talked to him Sunday. They came to the ball game there in Knoxville, and I never want to put a man to all his marbles, and he didn't bring it up, so I didn't either. But I think that he would make a great governor. He's definitely engaged in every aspect of Tennessee, and there's no doubt in my mind that he wants to see Tennessee do better.
Other candidates out there that you've heard?
Yeah, Glenn Jacobs. I know that he's thrown his hat in the ring. John Rose there, the congressman out of
Putnam County.
Putnam County, that's right. And I was fortunate enough to ride the bus with him during the election, all the way from the Tennessee River to nearly Lake County. Great guy, seems genuine. And and I'm sure that there's going to be a few more after everything settles down. And I'm kind of anxious to see who all's names are in the hat.
I want to ask one other question. It'll be, how do you feel about paying to drive across, say, Nashville? We're talking about, toll roads and these kinds of things. We know what's happened up in New York just recently on those $9 fees or whatever they're charging to go into town on a certain. How do you feel about that?
Yes, sir. And Paul, I think that's another avenue there. I'm sure a lot of these people here have been to Nashville here lately or been on I-40. It's a madhouse. And to be able to open up another road that if somebody is willing to pay, the folks here in West Tennessee, they can still go to Nashville in a few years, just like they've always have. But if they wanted to maybe go a little faster, a little less congestion, there may be an avenue there, a road that, or a lane, I guess the best way to say it, a lane that shouldn't be as heavily clogged. So, if you're in a hurry and don't want to fight the traffic, you've got an avenue to get there.
Have you been late to the legislature because of traffic?
Paul, I pride myself in being early everywhere I've gone before the last 5 years. And now it's, I still take responsibility that I know what I'm getting on when I get on 40. And just like right now, the last year, I probably made as many trips through Clarksville as I did on 40, because I know if you ever get stuck on 40, you're there for a while. And if I'm not able to leave Aiken and Porter in the time that I want, a lot of times I'll go through Clarksville. It's a few more miles, but it's a little bit more consistent on time.
Glad we had you here today. I thank you for your time, and I wish you the best in this next legislative season, as we would like to call it here. And how long do you think it'll take this year?
I don't know. It's it'll be interesting here when we clock in Tuesday. I'm sure we're going to find out. There's a lot of talk about a special session for the vouchers and for East Tennessee. So I've not heard anything etched in stone yet, but it's going to be interesting there. And then if you do that, how long will the special session take, and how long will that put you back from regular session? So it'll be interesting. As always, hey, we want to get in there, do the people's work, and get out of there.
Thank you very much for coming in here. I've enjoyed our time here today, Representative Darby.
Paul, I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank the people of District 76 and for the most part, West Tennessee. Everybody's been receptive, and when you surround yourself with good people and people that put those boots on that you need a question answered, those are the people that I want to call, and I want to surround myself with that. And I couldn't imagine growing up anywhere else. This is the bedrock for me and everything that I stand for. And like I said, I couldn't imagine growing up anywhere else. State
Representative Tandy Darby on 30 Minutes today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you, Representative Darby, for joining us here on this week's 30 Minutes program.
Thank you, Paul.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.